Here, let me fix my hair first.
Okay, good. For the, oh, here we go. We're on there. That's all ready?
Ready?
Yep. Okay. Call to order the Wednesday, March 13th, 2024 Chaska Planning Commission meeting. Liz, would you take a roll?
Yes, Commissioner Asen,
Here.
Baswa, Campbell,
Here.
Corey, Kerber. Here. Olson,
Here.
Purdy,
Here.
Urbanski, and Chairperson Brass.
Here. With that, we'll just move in to adopt the agenda. Someone like to make a motion to adopt the agenda? Commissioner Olson, second. I think I heard Kerber as a second. Beat ya. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Motion carries. Agenda has been adopted. Now we'll move into visitor presentation. If there's anyone here that would like to speak or address the commission that is not on tonight's agenda, this would be something that's not currently on the agenda. Doesn't look like it. Are we still doing the online?
Is there anyone online who wishes to speak under visitor presentation? You can raise your hand. I'm not seeing anyone.
Okay, with that, we'll move to approve the previous meeting minutes if they've been reviewed. Anyone like to make a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Commissioner Kerber,
Second.
second by Purdy. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Consent items. This would be our first item of business, item 6A. Consent to recommend approval of the final site and building plan and final plat for 3740 Chestnut Street. Oh, I'm gonna mess up that name. So PC number 2024-05. Audrius.
Yes.
Does anybody have any final questions for city staff or anybody with that? Would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to recommend the approval to the city council, the final site and building plan for the final plat of 3740 Chestnut with the following 23 conditions.
First by Commissioner Asen, is there a second?
I'll second.
Purdy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And so we'll move right into our first action item, Liz, the recommend approval concept plan for Hazeltine National Golf Club. You could take it away and do the presentation.
Yep.
Yep, it's on.
Perfect. All right. Thank you, Planning Commission. We have a concept plan application in front of you specifically for Hazeltine National Golf Course and for a side of the property, which is being proposed by the golf course. The property and area kind of in question this evening is shown on this aerial exhibit. The general concept area is highlighted in orange on the exhibit, also showcasing adjacent uses and sites around the concept plan area. Hazeltine National Golf Course encompasses the east and south sides of where the concept plan area is. We have residential to the north, an additional city-owned golf course to the northwest of the property, and additional multifamily and commercial properties happening to the west of the site. And the main thoroughfares within the area are Hunter Mark Road, which abuts the western portion of the site, and Hazeltine Boulevard, which is on the north side of the site, and where the golf course main entrance is located off of. Also shown on this exhibit, if we need to refer back to it, is the location of the clubhouse and their existing parking lots that stem off of Hazeltine Boulevard, and then their open space on the northwest side of their site. So in terms of previous approvals that have taken place on this property within kind of the relative history within the last 10 or so years, is back in December of 2013, a concept plan was approved by the city council, which looked at the west side of the golf course site, which showed the plan for residential on the northwest side and then commercial on the southwest side of the site. At that time, it was guided as neighborhood mixed use, which now it's guided as mixed residential in the 2040 plan. They're essentially the same land use, it's just got a different name to it in the 2040 plan. But again, that plan was approved in 2013, and that was basically to kind of contemplate some proposed uses on the southwest and northwest side. However, they did not move forward with a development plan on either portion of those of that concept plan. So we are looking at a different concept plan this evening. They also held a neighborhood meeting on February 5th of this year, which is a requirement ahead of the concept plan submittal. They did get a turnout at that meeting, and some of the comments that were received from the adjacent property owners pertain to the proposed amenities with this concept plan and who would be able to access those amenities. The timing of the overall improvements that are proposed, whether or not the new villas will be owner occupied or rented, construction, traffic, tree preservation, the safety of the ingress and egress of vehicles into and out of the site, pedestrian walkways, and overall traffic. And then the image on this slide is an image from the 2013 concept plan. This is the existing conditions exhibit here. Just want to point out that the overall Hazeltine Golf Course site is a little over 300 acres in size. However, the area in question this evening is on the northwest side that abuts Hazeltine Boulevard and Hunter Mark Road, which takes up approximately 13 acres of that overall site of the golf course. There are trees which aren't shown on this exhibit, but there are trees that align the north edge of the property along Hazeltine Boulevard. And the main access does come from Hazeltine Boulevard, where I'm showing my cursor, which provides kind of a right in and then full turning movements out of the site onto Hazeltine Boulevard. This portion of the site, or the access into the site, is a part of the overall concept plan to modify, just in terms of some of the struggle that they have with ingress and egress through this access point. They do want to improve that with the realignment that I'll show in a later exhibit. Other points on Hazeltine Boulevard is a service road, so this is accessed only by the golf course employees, and then another gated access here that again is for employees. There's an additional service road access via gravel driveway that is directly across from Hazeltine Plaza's southern access onto Hunter Mark Road. This one is also in question for relocating that as a part of the overall plan. There are existing parking lots on site in the concept plan area. There's a main parking lot directly adjacent to the clubhouse, which is not fully shown on this exhibit here, but that would generally remain in place for the main parking lot. But these two parking lots here will be impacted with the improvements that are being proposed, but made up elsewhere in newer parking on site. The clubhouse is approximately 50,000 square feet in size. They are not planning to add on to that as a part of this concept plan proposal. I also want to point out that Hazeltine Boulevard and Hunter Mark Road on the sides that abut this property do not currently have pedestrian facilities on them, nor does Hazeltine Boulevard have sidewalks on the north side. There is a trail on the west side of Hunter Mark Road that abuts the Hazeltine Plaza and other commercial development on the west side. And then also just want to point out, there is a major utility corridor that runs north to south through the site. And it's generally where I'm putting my cursor right now, which has city utilities of sewer and water that run through the site. This slide shows some of the views into and out of the site, showcasing kind of the northwest area, which is currently an open field space. And then the bottom right images are more of those shots that are closer to the clubhouse and the entry into the site. So what the golf course is specifically requesting is the concept plan approval. So this is the first step in the process of the city's required three-step process. So if this moves forward this evening, they would be eligible, or I should say, once it gets approved by council, they would be eligible to submit for their second step in the process, which would be preliminary site and building plan and rezoning. And then after that step in the process and getting that approved, they would be eligible for final site and building plan. But this evening, we're at the first step. The first step entails the concept plan, which specifically what they're requesting is a couple things with their plan. One is to add 8 new 2-story villas on site for lodging purposes for the members of the golf course. They are also proposing a new putting course and then a new short course. So some added golf course amenities on site. And then in addition to that, they are planning to make modifications to the main vehicle entrance into the site and a relocation of their service road on Hunter Mark Road. In terms of how this aligns with the comprehensive plan, again, it's guided mixed residential, which calls for a multitude of uses within that guidance, which ranges from residential to commercial to open space to, excuse me, public and semi-public uses. So it ranges in the types of uses that are allowed out there. So in terms of what is being proposed as a part of this plan, it is consistent with that guidance. So now I have the concept plan on this slide here, getting to the access and where that's being relocated. So as you can see kind of on this overlay on the existing access is where I'm showing my cursor right now. They are planning to relocate that access to the end of Hazeltine Boulevard on the east side. So basically allowing the eastbound movements and people entering the site to kind of have that seamless approach into the site. And then egress would also happen at this point as well. They are proposing a gatehouse as well at this entrance point to help control ingress and egress through the site. So this will be a gatehouse type building at this entrance. The service road, again, you can see the overlay of where the existing service road is today, which lines up with the southern entrance of Hazeltine Plaza to the west there. The new service road is planning to be relocated 170 feet approximately to the south here, and that is kind of in response to where they're planning to put the short course on the site as it's pushing that service road to the south there. I think one of the concerns that staff has with this offset with access points is understanding how that will function moving forward. I think you can argue, at least during the normal operational hours, that the amount of use that this access or service road gets is pretty minimal, given that it's only used by the employees of the golf course, and there is some public or city staff usage to gain access to our electric utilities. However, this is an access point that is used during their larger event, operations where they access their parking on site. So we do have questions about how this access will operate with the other access points on Hunter Mark Road and other traffic on Hunter Mark Road being offset to that access point, since our goal and policies typically prefer that access points are aligned with one another. The parking for the site, as I mentioned, the existing parking lot that's adjacent to the clubhouse will generally remain intact as a part of this concept plan. There will be some realigning of kind of the drive aisles within the site and how the rest of the area is being accessed. And where the villas are going, it's going over a portion of the existing parking on site that you can see in this overlay. So as a result of that, they are accommodating that impact of parking by providing direct access or parking to the villa units themselves, which are a 2-to-1 ratio for each unit there. So they are providing parking that meets our code within the direct vicinity of the villas. And then they're also providing that additional paved parking area to accommodate the other impacts made on their site. In total, they are providing 203 stalls, 32 of which of those will be, again, directly adjacent to the proposed villas on site. In terms of parking count and what this use requires for a parking quantity, they are right at what our code requires. So they are meeting code in terms of the count out there. I think one thing, again, that we'll want further evaluation of is during those larger events, what type of parking they generally need during those times, and with some of the area that's currently open space and what we've understood to be overflow parking for those larger events. We want to understand kind of where that gets relocated on site and how they accommodate those larger events. So that'll be something that they'll have to bring forward in their preliminary submittal, is just additional information on how that will all work. The villas, again, those are 8 total villas, which will be 2-story walkout type structures. Each of them will contain, or each villa will contain 4 bedroom units within each of them, which would total 32 bedrooms as a result of that. And those would be encompassed in those buildings. The design that they're proposing for the villas would emulate the design and materials that are used on the clubhouse building, and I'll show an image of that later on. The walkout units would be available for the members of the golf course to have overnight lodging, since they do have a fair share of out-of-state or international members. This will be an option for them to take advantage of on site in the event that they're flying in from other places. And then this area would also have direct connection to where that new putting course is proposed, which again will be right out those walkout units. The putting course area will take up approximately an acre of that northwest area. They do plan to have some low profile lighting to light up this area during the evening hours. And then directly adjacent to that is where they're proposing the new short course, which takes up a majority of that 13-acre northwest area of the site. They are also planning to have on the north and west sides berming and landscaping to help with the view sheds into and out of the site, just to provide kind of that consistent landscape approach that you see on Hazeltine Boulevard in the median. So this will help kind of provide an edge to the overall site. And then these are some images of kind of that desired look and proposed look that they're going for both the golf course additives and then also the materials that they're looking at for the villa units. So again, their goal and desire here is to match what's currently at the clubhouse. And I would say from staff's point of view, that is probably the best way to start looking at the design of these buildings to provide cohesiveness between the structures on site. So just want to reiterate a couple things for them to work on as they move forward to a preliminary application. Working on the parking analysis to provide information related to their normal operations and then their large event operations. And then working on evaluation of those access points into the site that are changing, both for the main entrance and for the service road on Hunter Mark Road. We did also include a condition regarding a sidewalk connection on the south side of Hazeltine Boulevard from this site to Hunter Mark Road, which would connect into those other pedestrian facilities that are on the west side of Hunter Mark and north and south side of Hazeltine Boulevard where Hazeltine Plaza is. So there is some benefit of being able to connect the site to those retail uses and amenities over on the west side. Also contemplating a sidewalk on the east side of Hunter Mark Road. There isn't any pedestrian facilities again on the east side of Hunter Mark Road, so it essentially wouldn't connect into anything today, but it's still good planning to contemplate space for that in the event that that is pursued. And then also providing lighting specs and photometrics for the proposed lighting of the site. They indicated that they would like to light up the golf course areas that they're proposing. And we want to understand what that will look like from a location standpoint and what those fixtures will be to meet our ordinance. And then also I probably didn't use the plan as much to indicate where that main utility corridor is through the site and avoiding that as much as possible with the improvements that are planned, as this is a pretty major corridor of utilities. And as you can see today, the parking lots basically avoid them. And I think that was in relation to keeping that corridor open in the event that those utilities need maintenance is what we're trying to hit on with that point. So in conclusion, we are asking you to make a motion to recommend approval of the concept plan for the Hazeltine National Golf Course Northwest plan based on the conditions that are listed in the staff report. If you are to recommend approval of this evening, it would move to the council on Monday, March 18th. We do have the applicants in the audience and they are able to answer questions. Otherwise, happy to answer questions as well from my side. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Liz. First, I'll bring it back to commission. It's not a public hearing tonight, but we'll certainly like to talk to people in the audience if they want to address the commission. First, we'll just start off here. If there's any questions, discussion amongst ourselves in for city staff.
I have a
Go
question.
ahead.
How was this area utilized during the Ryder Cup?
Can you please state your name and address?
Absolutely. My name is Phil Anderson. I'm the PGA General Manager at Hazeltine National Golf Club. That was all used for parking during the Ryder Cup, that entire area. I think one of the considerations that was listed was just how we're going to handle that for large events in the future. This 11 acres that was used for parking, we're looking at the pumpkin patch on the backside that was originally in the 13 plan was not utilized during the Ryder Cup, which is 7 acres of a gain back in parking. The other part of it is we're working with the PGA of America related to how they're doing their build outs. Really one of the evolutions for what they're doing is a lot of their site planning was individual chalets laid out throughout the golf course. They're starting to stack and build upwards from a viewing standpoint. So their build out is anticipated in the future here to actually be smaller on that front. So it's a total loss of 4 parking, the 11 for the 7 on the backside.
Now, was that parking mostly for volunteers and employees?
Yeah, that area right there was, the media tent was right there for that particular event. So it was on the large scale events, it was used right there for media, kind of VIP parking right in that area. So everything would shift a little bit to the left and then kind of work its way out. So there'll be a new plan in place. We're already, we were just down in Frisco, work with the PGA of America on that site plan for 29, and they've approved kind of what this looks like and feels like as a whole. So they're in conjunction with what we're talking about doing.
Would you have more potential off-site parking with shuttles with other places again? Is that how you would handle parking beyond?
That is correct. Yeah, certainly utilizing the high school and the busing system worked wonderfully. I mean, it was one of the big reasons why they're coming back was the ease of use and how that whole system was set up with the main entrance. So that same system would be in place. We're displacing about 4 acres. But I think there's layouts where we might gain some of that back based on their build out changing a little bit as well. So I can't tell you today, physically, we'd be losing 4 acres of parking. But I think once their site plan's done, we might be gaining some of that back. So I don't think I wouldn't say it's gonna put a significant burden on exterior parking coming into the event with the same type of attendance.
I was glad to see the sidewalks are being looked at around that area, because around there, you know, people want to see what Hazeltine looks like, even if they can't play it, they want to see it. There's no walking around there, anything to see. So a good sidewalk would be nice to at least give the visual pleasure of walking through. But maybe a bike path, you know, Chaska is a very beautiful city, Hazeltine, beautiful golf course. That's a pretty narrow road there. People are going to be riding their bikes, you know, all of that. And I understand the, you know, restraints and stuff, but just glad to see at least it's being looked at. Sidewalk, possibly a bike path, might be something to add into it or something like that.
I think certainly from our community meeting, that was one of the biggest things that came up was just the easy use for the neighborhood and how that flows in that area. So we certainly heard that concern. We're going to continue to work with the city on solutions to that area. But I do think it's an opportunity on all fronts of just how we're redoing the entrance, how that neighborhood and the interaction is going to really flow going forward. There are some opportunities to get better of just how really our members and guests enter the property and leave the property as well.
I just have I'll say I have kind of the opposing view on the sidewalks on the east side of Hunter Mark. I kind of question the fact of why now? I mean, I'm going with because they're making an improvement within their property. It's a private club. They're not adding resources. So I'm on the fact of if we're going to talk about a bike path, it should be on the west side and keeping the east side as it is right now. Like I said, I'm on that piece of.
I would agree with you.
It's tough to look at.
Yeah.
And it's just back to the part where it's like, you know, city is recommending it, but it's like, well, why is the city recommending it now? And why didn't it do it 10 years ago when, you know, concept came through? So we'll see where things progress. But I do have a question on the parking as it stands. And we've always had this conversation of the parking standards we have within, you know, the code. Can you elaborate on not the large Ryder Cup events, but the normal events that happen within the clubhouse? And what are the constraints within the parking right now for normal operations with the events and whatnot that come through?
Yeah, I would say generally speaking, on a day-to-day basis, we have ample parking. I would say there's some situations where you might have a Saturday wedding where the golf course is full and you've got a major event going inside the banquet facility. And at that point, we get a little bit tight during those events, but we still have enough on-site parking during that. That's something that we continue to evaluate as we go into these next phases of what we can do and how we might look at potentially more parking.
So does the change, the new concept add some more parking? I guess I missed that, or does it keep, you're gonna be at the same level, because you're losing somebody at the villas, and then, so the shuffle, when it's all said and done, are you gaining parking for the
Yep.
membership within the club?
32 spots are right next to the villas. I think that overall is a gain. Is that right, Brady? Do you know that there?
The way it's shown.
The parking.
Yeah, well, it's all,
It's a wash, yeah, neutral,
it's a neutral.
neutral, yep.
So you envision the villas being obviously filled during events. Otherwise, they're gonna be randomly filled with people. If like a client comes into town, they wanna bring them the thing, or if you got visitors,
Yeah, I think
reciprocity from other clubs or something.
would just be for our members and their guests on property, so it isn't open to anything beyond that. I think the bigger component would just be during golf season is really where we envision from an occupancy standpoint, the majority of that happening. You may have a member throwing a wedding and might want to rent 8 units out for the weekend or something like that. There's gonna be scenarios during other timeframes beyond just summer. But yeah, that, I think certainly having the direct parking access right there should be seamless for them in that area.
Yep. Yeah, it reminds me, but much nicer, looking at your concept plan and your architectural renderings of like Deacon's Lodge, how they have their kind of villas on
Villas,
site or
yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
Yeah. But these look really nice. Is there a design? Obviously, we're at concept level, but is there a design for the short course yet? Have you?
We're in final stages of that, so we'll be ready, certainly at the next phase, that we'd be ready to prepare to show that. We've got weekly meetings with Love Golf Design, so Davis Love is heading up the architecture of that. We'd like to show that to the membership coming up April 11th, and then give that certainly back to this body as we move forward.
How's it gonna be an executive course?
It's a par 3 short course, so these holes are all designed to be
All par
120 yards or less, all par 3s, yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, my slight concern. We like to think that on our private course, most people might be a little bit better golfers. But, I mean, I golfed a lot of,
You do have the par
Horses.
30 right across the street.
Well-
I mean, they can't be any better.
I just, I'm just curious if the greens are gonna lay out on 100 mark. I live in the town course drive, and oddly enough, I've been hit twice. My vehicle just, and if you've golfed at the town course, I mean, the 10th green isn't really even near, it's a bad shot. And I've had 2 golf balls hit my Jeep. And so,
Sorry, yeah.
yeah, I mean, and I live there, I live in the course, so I understand it's gonna happen, but people are shopping, so I'm
Right.
just, it's random.
The apartments.
But that's what's.
Back up, what I would say, I think from a design standpoint, as we've gone through that, there'd really only be 2 shots that would be parallel to the road right now in the initial design of that. Certainly the berming and the landscaping with trees will help protect quite a bit. I think the other part is just from a novice or beginner golfer standpoint. One of the beautiful parts of the design is that it's tightly mown grass everywhere. So even if it's an 80-yard hole, you could putt it. I mean, so if you don't feel comfortable hitting those shots, that is one of the concepts of what we're doing, is really to introduce more people to the game, make it more inclusive, and continue down that path. I think the club's done a great job historically of really growing the game of golf and bringing kids and youth really out to the course and trying to do good things.
Okay.
So I think from a design standpoint, at our next level, we'll be happy to show some of that detail and address that concern.
See that.
Yep.
Illumination. Then I didn't see anything in the neighborhood meeting notes. Did anyone talk about that? It said low level lighting. I don't know, that's ambiguous what that means, but
There was a picture in here
I saw a
somewhere.
picture. It looked like it was
Yeah.
lit up pretty well at night. And so there is residences across the street.
We did not have any questions at the meeting. We were very, upfront about what the lighting would potentially look like. We're looking at tree height
Or something.
or below. So we're looking at low level lighting. So you're not going stadium style, nothing along those lines. I think this will, when we bring the lighting study back at our next phase, we'll have all of that laid out of what that would look like and feel like. But it's really, I would say merchandised in a very organic way where you've got it in the trees facing downward. So you're not illuminating necessarily up. You're going to see ball flight as you're basically getting set up to hit a shot, but you're not going to see the apex of the shot going upwards.
Makes more sense too, on the street. Maybe have
Short
long
shots.
drives, right?
Yep.
Okay, is there any questions amongst ourselves here? Not to keep them up here. Do you have any more questions for, I'm sorry, what was your name again?
My name's Phil Anderson.
Phil. Any more questions for Phil?
I don't.
I don't.
Oh, thank you.
Questions were answered.
Yeah.
I do have questions to staff though, concerning the service road on Hunter Mark. So you're making the comment or statement about trying to, or the alignment with the current drive that's on the south side of Coles. So which would technically be the secondary access for the apartments as well as Coles as well. So why is it important that the service road that is going to be minimally used would align up with a secondary access that is also minimally used?
Again, since they use that service road access for their large events for parking, there's a slew of vehicles that are gonna be coming in and out of the site there. So there is that question of how that's going to operate with the offset of the access of Coles. So we want to understand that more during those larger events when you're getting stacks of cars during that time. And if there's going to be delays and turning movements and that sort of thing when they're getting into and out of the site and how that interacts with the Coles site.
I guess that's I don't see those two as related, especially in their large events, because they would be coming up Hunter Mark Road and turning right into the access road. So I'm like with the sidewalks, I'm less concerned about the alignment of those two because you're talking about large events that happen every 2, 4, hopefully every soon. I mean, often, but we're talking about things that happen every 2 to 4, 6 years. And it's a service road that's only used from, the employees for the most part as well too. So yet again, I don't see that as a significant impact of where the location. Now, if there's utilities, making sure that it's matching up with that, but it doesn't seem like that's the issue with the alignment of that road either.
I'll expand on that a little bit. So maybe it's a question for Phil, who's come back up. The service road, two things. One, is it possible that employees can just use the gated access? Why do they need to use this makeshift service road? And then two, confirming, and with city staff, your understanding these events, the high usage of this road would be once every few years. Is that what the concern is on those specific events? Like.
Yeah, if I might, you all recall Ryder Cup, and it's a very large event.
Yes.
And I think it's prudent for us to just make sure that, we're working with Hazeltine. We're a big partner with them when they have events like that. To make sure that we're thinking ahead and that we're setting this facility up to do what it's intended to do, which is not only just serve their membership, but also, and it's Hazeltine's expressed intent, right? They want to be a place that's going to attract and host these large scale golf events. And I think that's in everyone's interest that we support that happening. So that's what we're looking at. We want to be thorough. I don't think we're saying at this point anything about requiring this access at any given location. But we want to make sure that we're reviewing it and asking those questions
Sure.
as we're going through this process.
So on a day-to-day basis, if the employees were to use it, is the city concerned about that usage? Or is it more of the large event? Like if this service road shifts south a little bit in a show.
Yep.
Obviously, I think in a large event, if you have a ton of vehicles coming and going, one major injury is too much probably, right? If you have a pedestrian gets run over, something happens, that's clearly not great. Officer out there or something, but day-to-day use, if they were to shift this south, is there concern on that aspect of it or not so much? And if there is, and that goes back to Phil's, can employees just, can we not really use that much?
Employees don't use that. We have our golf course maintenance might come in every once in a great while if we have a large truck or something coming in, but that is not an employee entrance. So I just wanted to clear that.
Rarely used.
Rarely used. Yep.
You'd have to plug here. Please state your name.
John Getch, and I live Hazeltine Estates, which is the um, townhouse building on Birdie Lane, the first one there. And just to comment on that, that access road is only used for construction if they need to haul in some heavy materials or something for that side of the course. But during the Ryder Cup, it was heavily used to bring in all the buildings that were built. The majority of them came in either through the I guess it'd be the south entrance off of Pioneer Trail, or they came in on that entrance and they constructed that for that, and then it was used for parking. But other than that, it's roped off and you'd have to go get it's got a cable across it, so it's not really meant for that. So, while I'm here, can I make the sidewalks concern is once I get off of Birdie Lane going down, you're walking. If you want to walk somewhere, you have to walk in the roadways down to Hunter Mark and thing. And I've just mentioned it at the meeting at the clubhouse, but the neighborhood and the people there are very interested in having a sidewalk that services that. Understand it's probably not the responsibility of the club. And I'm a social member at the club. I walk over there all the time. There are other people that walk there.
Between 100 Mark heading east, from 100 Mark heading east.
Heading east up to the clubhouse. And there isn't anything for Carver's Green or for Hazeltine Shores.
Sure.
And people walking all the time, and they're walking in the street. So I just thought important that while they're doing some major realignment of the road there, that try and come up with a solution for pedestrian traffic. And also want to make sure that when it's done, people don't think that Birdie Lane continues on, even though it says no outlet, those who enter will be shot. But it's a problem. Just like last Friday, there was an event at the club, and in less than half an hour, there were over 30 cars that drove down there
Okay, got it.
Okay.
and turned around, came right back out.
Got it.
So
Thank you.
We also have someone on Zoom that has their hand raised, if you want to take their comment right now. Lori, if you want to unmute yourself, you're welcome to comment. I don't know. There we go.
Okay. Hello. My name is Lori Kelly and I live at 26 Carver's Green. And my concern is safety, safety, safety on Hazeltine Boulevard. And I haven't really heard that comment mentioned. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I attended the 2.5 neighborhood meeting, and I thank Hazeltine for inviting us all to be there. But I watch Hazeltine guest members drive down Hazeltine Boulevard extremely fast. I also watch people come out of Hazeltine existing exit, entrance, whatever you want to call it. They come down the up Hazeltine Boulevard, which is super scary to me when I see that happen. And then I also see all of my dear neighbors walk up Hazeltine Boulevard with their dogs, family members, and there is no, maybe this isn't appropriate, but there is no like speed limit sign on Hazeltine Boulevard. Nothing. So that is my concern, and I've lived here since 1980. So I've seen Ryder Cubs, KMBG. I've volunteered at Hazeltine for all their events, but I am concerned about safety on Hazeltine Boulevard. So thank you for addressing, and thank you for letting me me to make my comment.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think she has genuine concern. It seems as if there would be some addressing of that safety concern. Does it may make sense for the city to investigate if there's a contribution by the city for a sidewalk in that area. Or however that winds up working out.
Are there no speed limit signs on that boulevard?
I mean, not familiar enough to know, but I think not posted means 30 in a neighborhood or 20 in a neighborhood or whatever it is. I guess I don't mean.
Yeah, it's
Slow, you go slow.
it's not typical that we would have speed signs on neighborhood streets. But you know, we can evaluate whether this would make some sense,
Yeah.
given the, you know, the use of Hazeltine off the street as well.
Yeah.
That's something we could take a look at.
This is highlighting more about a city concern versus a
Right.
Hazeltine
Right.
concern.
Yeah, this is
because-
a more public works
Right, I mean,
concern. So noting her comments and noting that there is not a sidewalk for residents to get down to like the loop even or access the retail area, right? That's gonna be hopefully growing in the new apartment complex there. It may be beneficial if there's some sort of look there with
And
how it works.
and I would almost say prior to the project being started, because the one thing we
Right.
haven't talked about is construction traffic, and we know that will be addressed, but at some point in time, we know there's going to be construction traffic coming down Hazeltine Boulevard, and with no sidewalks for the residents in that area, they will be using the same street as the trucks will be. So it would be in the city's best interest to address the sidewalk issue before construction starts.
Of construction for Hazeltine Boulevard will be used to some extent.
But
Yeah, so we
also,
can address this further. I wonder if you can use Pioneer or come off.
Well, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
assuming that they'll be using the service
Yeah.
road
Right.
as much as they
if
can.
Possible, right? Yeah.
and the entrance off of Pioneer Ridge.
Right.
Right, but that's a distance though, so it's probably
Yeah.
gonna be the new service road is probably where most of it's gonna come, you would imagine. With
Mhm.
minimal coming up from Hazeltine Boulevard.
Yeah.
But still, that, like I said, we know that that's something
Yeah.
that will be addressed
So-
through preliminary as
Yeah, so
well.
that'd be great, Liz, if Public Works, you can take a look at it, speed limit sign, sidewalk. I do think, I mean, I've been to Hazeltine. I mean, I do think the new access point makes sense. Maybe it does get a little confusing right in that area.
Going the wrong way.
Yeah, yep, and so it is. Yeah, the whole split lane, the whole split thing there a little bit, yeah, so that'll be good. What else? I think that's all I had. Is there any other concerns or questions for staff and commission? At this point, being it's just a concept,
Just like keeping the gawkers off the road, and that's,
yeah.
sidewalk, whatever, bike path, whatever.
Mhm,
On either side too, it doesn't matter. I understand it's a public course, but
mhm.
people want to see it and we want to show it off with Hazeltine too.
Sure, and even
So,
just
yeah.
like she was saying, the call or just safety even.
Yeah,
Or
exactly.
residents, if they want to walk down from Birdie Lane or from all the townhomes to get to Starbucks. Right, there's just, you gotta walk on the road.
Right.
So, I mean, and again, this is more of a public works thing, not a Hazeltine thing, but. Yeah, I have nothing further for staff if everyone's done.
I like it.
Okay,
I do have a question, I mean, and only because it's provision that staff has put on, so number 13 has got the provision for the future sidewalk on the east side of Hunter Mark. to show in preliminary plans. Is that something that we feel we need to require? Because obviously it's, I mean, we're putting that as a provision and it's as we go. If it's stated here, it needs to show up in the preliminary unless we make a change. So is it a requirement or is it a request?
On Hunter Mark, we're talking about.
On the
now.
east side of Hunter Mark?
On the
So
east side,
I guess for
yeah.
a city, how far, when you were talking, how far would you vision extend for that sidewalk?
Yeah, and to clarify, the condition in the report and how we've stated it is that we want the site to contemplate a future connection there. So we're not saying that it's a part of this overall site plan that it needs to go in, but in terms,
Room for,
right, at least showing the potential of a pedestrian facility to occur on the east side of Hunter Mark Road is really what that condition is getting to, and just showing it, but it's not something that we're asking needs to be installed as a part of the
so
overall
when they're
site plan.
right away, basically,
What was that?
some right of way to allow for potential.
Right, show it how it can fit in with the plan that's being proposed.
So then I'm fine with that for now. We can always address it again if we think it's too heavy-handed. But what about, again, this isn't their concern. So just if you can work with Public Works and look at the sidewalk on Hazel.
Well, I should clarify on that one too. Sidewalk improvements are a requirement of a development as it comes in. So it would be at the expense of an applicant or a developer to put in sidewalks if it's directly abutting their property. And
Yeah.
it
Would be probably on the north side of Hazeltine Boulevard.
Yeah,
right?
well,
It wouldn't be on the south side of Hazeltine Boulevard.
no, that's what we're asking for is on the south side.
No, on
But-
Hazeltine?
But then
Yes.
everybody from Lake Shore would have to cross to use the path, right?
There probably would have to be some crossing of the road, but we don't require developers to put in sidewalk facilities that don't abut their sites.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so between Hunter Mark and the gatehouse, basically, let me see here, Hunter Mark and
Right.
Sweet Division. It's also between Hunter Mark Golf Course and the show. Okay,
this one.
That-
Hey,
So then they're gonna still have to cross to get to the path. Still better than walking in the street.
yeah, for sure, still better. They could put a crosswalk in.
Crosswalk in.
I mean, definitely better than,
so the residents are on the north side of Hazeltine Boulevard. But the city didn't require a sidewalk to be built on the north side of Hazeltine Boulevard when those houses came. Hazeltine Golf Course has been there for years. And because they're adding 8 rentable villas, not permanent residents, to their private golf course, they have to show provisions of a sidewalk on the south side and the south side of Hazeltine Boulevard and the east side of Hunter Mark, because they're making an improvement to their private golf course. That's not going to add any additional traffic that's not already coming. Sorry, I find it hard on that side of things. I'm all for safety, but the unsafe conditions have been there for ever. And it's just coming to light now because of the project.
Looked at development in the past is if there's a new development or a new proposal going in, we are looking at the opportunity to add to the pedestrian facilities
Yeah.
and connections
I would like.
within an area. I mean, it's no different than on the west side at Hazeltine Plaza that we, as a part of that development, trails and sidewalks were included on the sites that abutted other pedestrian facilities. So we see this as an opportunity to connect into existing pedestrian facilities there and provide that missing connection.
Yeah, I mean, I'm, as a devil's advocate here, I'm okay with it. I mean, thinking about how the developments do go down, whether it's neighborhoods or whatever, they are on the development side. And if there isn't one from the past, I don't feel like 2 wrongs make a right. Like maybe there should have been one from 35 years ago or whatever it was. But it seems like it's needed and this would be the appropriate time. At least to
But then again,
future sidewalk, to at least allow sidewalk, so a future sidewalk on Hunter Mark and then an actual sidewalk on Hazeltine, is that correct? Okay. So would there be a crosswalk then? Is that the idea? For like the neighborhoods? Most likely.
Around
Yeah,
the-
we would probably have to look at that a little bit in depth as to making sure that there's safe crossings where we see those movements happening.
Wilson, so the Hunter Mark one, how do you feel about it's just a provision for showing future possibility?
Well, technically, both of them are provisions, so
No,
either one
the
are required.
Hazeltine one looks more like a requirement.
Oh, no, they both say provision, so, and when I
Yeah,
see
but it
that,
says provision of a sidewalk and then with provision of a future sidewalk.
right,
So I think
it's
they.
provision. But in the reason why I say that
Like
is,
they have to put like, it's a provision to the concept plan, but they're required to put one in for the Hazeltine Road. Versus the Hunter Mark is just showing that it can be put in.
so it'd be interesting to see if the city and Hazeltine Golf Course can come to an alignment of where that future sidewalk that currently does not exist on Hazeltine Boulevard should land. If it's on the north side or on the south side. There should, I mean.
In the median.
Put it, exactly. I mean, I don't think we need to say specifically it's on the south side. I think we should say provision for a sidewalk, period.
Or safe pedestrian passage.
Say, right, passage. I mean, it versus saying it has to be on the south side of the road. If we're gonna say that this one is, it has to be a sidewalk and the other one's just future, then.
Well, I'm for the sidewalk. I don't care if it's on north side or south.
Right, so that's, let's strike
But I
the
want
word
this-
south side
I want
and
a
just say
sidewalk.
a
And I think it's
sidewalk.
appropriate time of development for a sidewalk to go.
I
don't-
find it,
I don't care south or
Right.
north.
I'm,
And that's
I know you feel like this one, maybe you don't consider
This-
the sidewalk, but
well, I don't think Hazelton as a private
That's-
golf course, like you
that's
said,
the part.
should be responsible for the sidewalk.
I don't think that they should be responsible for the sidewalk. That's back to that part where it's just because they're putting in the
Well-
development.
but I mean, like you could say that for businesses that are private businesses, when they put in like in an industrial park or some other place, like that doesn't make, you're still required.
Well, the
I mean,
city
every
didn't
business is
require,
private.
the city didn't require sidewalk when the residents were built.
Exactly, and then
So-
going back to like not two wrongs,
Right.
make it right, I mean.
But just because
Should have
Hazeltine
more.
is coming through with a development saying that they are required to put a sidewalk in when their members aren't going to be walking up to the gatehouse, they're going to be driving.
Right, but they're the reason why there's
still-
traffic though too.
Yeah.
So we have to keep
Which
that
has
into
been there-
consideration,
Which
you
has
know.
been there for 30+ years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but a lot's
So-
changed
It's
in
getting
30+
bigger.
years.
But do you want those members to, some of the neighbors might be a little upset with the safety corridors right now. So, well,
They're
let's,
driving
let's make
traffic.
them,
Right.
let's appease that part.
And that's
Times
the
have
part
changed.
where it's the, how the sausage gets made,
Yeah.
I'm more on the, if the provisions say this, then this is what it has to be. And are we saying that it has to be on the south side, or are we saying that there just needs to be a sidewalk?
I'm fine with just a sidewalk.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Does that matter, Liz, if it says south or not? I mean, can that change, or should we just change it to just a sidewalk?
I mean, that's your prerogative, yeah. If you don't care what side it's on, I think from our standpoint, in terms of how it's consistently been applied and done in previous developments is our policy requires sidewalks adjacent to new developments going in or new proposals going in. And so there is that alignment with the policy on the south side of Hazeltine Boulevard, since this project is adjacent to that.
I guess it bring up a problem, like, how do you get sidewalk land on the north side? It's not,
That's what I'm
it's not their land.
You have association right here. Then you've got the city here. And then there's no room. You'd have to take the association.
Yeah, it doesn't work that way,
No.
right?
It goes through the median.
No, I can't, that doesn't,
Now we're taking
that's
down
not,
trees.
I would imagine that's gonna be,
Yeah, I'm
That'd be worse.
throwing stuff out.
yeah,
Yeah,
I hear you.
whatever sticks on the wall.
I imagine like, that would just be,
Yeah, I just
Close to
don't, I
red
don't know
flags
that
of-
it's
Yeah.
feasible.
yeah, no, I mean, it makes sense. Okay, now I'm like coming back to full circle. I want
The
the
land that
sidewalks.
butts up to the north side of that road is owned by the association. It's not owned.
All right,
by
well,
the
as
city of Chaska.
concept.
Could be a problem.
They're not gonna pay.
Yeah, they're not gonna pay. I guarantee you, they're not gonna pay.
It's concept, I mean, let's have them come back. Preliminary, it's an issue, we wanna,
Yeah,
we wanna see
Simple. Let the city
sidewalk on Hazeltine.
figure it out.
See how they're
Right.
appropriate. I think the provision is appropriate.
I do.
And on a 100 mark being it's a future only, that's.
That's fine.
I agree with
I can.
Commissioner Olson on that, on the future one, like, it should be required to put one in at this point,
Mhm.
at 100 mark.
Right, or
It's not
ever.
like a safety issue there,
Right.
Correct. Yep.
but there should potentially be, in the future, as times change, land available if
Right.
needed.
Right.
Okay. Well, with that, I'll make a motion to recommend to the city council approval of the Hazeltine National Golf Course Northwest Side Concept Plan, subject to the following 16 conditions. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Commissioner Kerber, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, guys. All right, receive the city council meeting minutes, those hereby, and also the park and rec. Those have hereby been received. And that's about it, I guess. Any other thing before we adjourn? Any discussion with staff, city, anything you want to say, talk about? No?
Nothing.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn?
See me.
Second.
Kerber, Austin, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.